Hey guys, I've come here to teach y'all about gear. So, Malulal gear is one of the most unique things in Shovel Knight's kit. It's probably the hardest relic overall to use efficiently. And so, to introduce new players and maybe players that want to pick up Shovel Knight to the concept of gear, I've prepared this little video for you guys in order to learn how it works. So the first thing we're going to talk about is the gear toss. So the gear toss is there's 16 frames before the gear is actually tossed. 12 frames of end lag before Shovel Knight can move again. So basically it's your first active frame after throwing it is frame 29. There's also a 120 frame cooldown if the gear goes away. Like that. And that kind of is a situation. Which can lead to some interesting things that we'll talk about later. However, if it rolls off after that 120 frames, then you can throw it again with no problem. The gear also does 2 damage when it's thrown. It will hit an opponent and do that. There's also 5 different ways to throw it. So I'll go underneath this platform to show you. There's a neutral throw, which goes like that. There's a forward throw. Downward throw. Oh, whoops. Upward throw. And backwards throw. So all those throws are very good for different reasons, but it's important to keep it in mind because the timing of when it will start rolling will be different based on when it lands on the ground. Okay, so now let's talk about the moving gear. One of the most obvious things about it is that there's a platform on top of it. It starts rolling on 51 frames after it lands. So almost a full second after it lands, it will start to roll. It also does 2 damage per hit. In my experience, generally it will get 2 hits when it's rolling through someone. So about 4 damage. And it also jumps when it's near a ledge. And like that. It will jump off platforms as well. And it will jump from platform to platform. So these are kind of just important things to keep in mind while looking into gear. So after we got down the basics of the gear, we can go into the uses of it. So the 4 things that I use it for, or the 4 categories, is for covering movement, aggressive usage of the gear, which would be combos, tech chasing, edge guarding, recovery, neutral, and then shenanigans. So the shenanigans are my favorite part, but we'll get into that one later. I kind of have ordered them in the usage of most important to least important. So in my opinion, the big shining point of gear is how you can cover movement with it. If your opponent is hanging out on the ground, let's say they like to go to platforms, by tossing a gear onto that platform, you've effectively covered that area for them to go to. You've boxed them into the ground. And then you can take neutral advantage by doing that. Flip-wise, if they're on the platforms, you can throw the gear on the ground and then poke. Because they can't risk landing on the ground or get hit by gear at that situation. And even if they land to parry the gear, you have time to maneuver at that point and reset neutral. So it's very good for that. It's kind of stage dependent. This usage of gear and why I think gear is better on triplats or Blazing Hideout is due to how the platforms can be covered by this thing. So when you're throwing it on the when you're throwing it in these situations, if your opponent is underneath this platform, it's not generally a good idea to throw it right there. You have to remember that there's 29 frames before you can act, and that's more than enough frames for someone to smack you. In my opinion, when you're throwing gear, you need to throw gear in a position that's right next to you so you can get in to mix up. Try to bait a parry, try to bait a defensive option, or throw it right in their face. Okay. So let's get a CPU in here. So you can do some interesting stuff with gear. Oh, it's 3 hits. I'm sorry, not 2 hits. 3 hits. But that might just be because it's Eliana. So I would assume it would still be 2 hits. But it does 6% damage. One of the easiest things you can do with this thing is that the hits will actually reset. So that actually hit extra times because I was nairing them during it. So the gear toss specifically is really good for comboing. This is on no DI, but this also works on DIN, is that you can gear toss to up tilt. Let's get you over here. You can also gear toss to up smash on DIN. That one will only work on DIN. But you can do that for a good little bit. Like, it's not like it's just a... Whoop. Especially when you're moving with it, you can... There's a few things you can do there. So when someone's on a platform, you can also combo into up air. And in some situations off stage, you can combo into dare as well. That wasn't very well spaced, but you get my point. So it's really good for catching people drifting, especially. You can even do it, or combo into it from things like Nair. Maybe not that percent, but... I'll also do it to reset situations. That wasn't exactly a good example of the combo I wanted to show you, but... Like that. And then you can land and then up tilt out of it. Okay. So, gear is naturally good in a tech chase situation of covering, well, at, let's say like 40%. It's kind of naturally good at covering DI, or tech in place. You can also, this is one of the beauties of this thing, is that you can also, in that situation, you can throw it up as well. Whoops. Oh my god. You can throw it up and get stuff off of that. And you can bait out parries that way. If someone is DIing out, commonly, let's just set this back to normal for now. All this is relative based on DI and drift as well. This is just a basic to kind of show you how you can apply it. Where is it? Tech out, there we go. On tech out, oh, well, maybe not there. In a lot of situations in tech out, let's hit him over here. Over. Okay. On tech out, you can throw the gear to cover that option as well. Or on tech in. You can cover a lot of options that way as well. And the beauty is even if you are... Well, naturally he's going to do that, huh? Okay. Even if they're rolling out... Yeah. Well, this is kind of a bad stage for this. Let's go to a better stage to show this off. Okay. Platforms kind of get a little bit detrimental in that situation. Okay, so even when they are... Even when they're DIing out, right? And let's say that you read it the wrong way. So you go, and then you start like that. You can short hop bear and then still recover. You just drift out and then dash attack is generally a good way to cover that kind of option, especially when gear's active. Though do worry about the just neutral parry there. So you could throw it up and then do it. Doesn't have the settings going. Okay, well, you get the point. Okay. So when you're considering the gear in edge guarding, there's two ways to consider this thing. So there's tossing it off stage. Oh, whoops. And there's letting it roll off stage. So there's two big advantages either way. Is that you can place gear more freely or by throwing the box rather than you can by letting it roll. However, the box can just be destroyed. It has a projectile like anything else that can get smacked and destroyed. However, when you put it to roll, it's going to be a lot more of a predictable angle, but at that point the gear is intangible. So it can't be destroyed. So it can challenge things a lot easier in the sake of Clarin or other Shovel Knights or Zetterburn. You can throw the gear down on the ground like that and let it roll off to cover it. When there's platforms, you can get different angles off platforms. So let's do this one really quick. So like right here, we get a little bit farther out trajectory, and while here you kind of get a little closer in. So these are kind of important things to consider when doing gear. You also do that to get farther out, but that's a very niche setup. And so there's a ton of ways that these can be applied. Like I said, you can bait it out because the gear toss especially is faster and it can be done more on reaction. And this requires more setup. But like once again, it's intangible, so there's a lot you can do with it. Okay. So the other basic thing, and this is probably the most simple way to apply gear besides just throwing it out, because right there exactly would not be a place you'd want to throw gear. You'd want to throw gear like right here. Or, whoops. Or like this. The other thing that's really important, that gear is the only relic that actively boosts Shovel Knight's recovery. When you're recovering, you can throw it on stage. And what's even better is that once you get a little bit, I'm not too great at it at the moment, but you can get better control over it. You can change up which way you're throwing them. And so if you're having trouble recovering maybe against Absas or Clarins, this might be a good idea, because even if they smack the gear, the box, they've committed to that move option. So it's also a good way to apply the gear in that situation. Okay, then there's applying the gear defensively. So this one isn't as common. It's kind of more, I shouldn't say defensively, because it's kind of more of a passive aggressive. Gear is actually a very good anti-air. Seeing as if he's gonna plat drop, I can just smack him with the gear. And this is actually more reliable than up tilt or up smash, because if you whiff up tilt, you're going to get punished. And up smash doesn't, while it has pretty good range, it also has a good amount of end lag and can be punished. Whereas gear can be parried immediately. And even if they break it, you can generally get a parry out on the extended hit stun from it. The other thing you can do is that gear is very powerful defensively when it's rolling towards Shovel Knight. If you can set them in a scenario, like let's say, whoops, in a scenario like this, it's very strong because you're not worried about gear rolling back at you. If they parry it, you don't have that hitbox coming at you. You get easier combos off of it in that situation. This is something that's less effective when someone knows more about the gear. But it's still something that you can apply. Alright, so those are the basic concepts of gear. Now we can move on to my favorite part. Gear shenanigans. So there's a lot of really fun shenanigans you can do with this thing. You can charge forward or down smash and do that. Charge gear or charge block, and especially going off stage and charging block. It's very fun. Because you can throw it really interestingly in different angles that you wouldn't get normally. You can also do something called the mobile wall, which is in the resources in the Academy Discord, so I'd check it out for a more thorough explanation. But you can basically put the gear... Oh, whoops, so let me get that out of there. You can basically put the gear in a situation where it can jump off. And the block will move with it, and it actually is a wall, and it will push people off. It's really fun for it. The other thing that you can do that's unique on this stage in particular is something that I believe was discovered by Douglas, is gear platform canceling. So, this only works when the gear is jumping from one platform to another platform, and it's jumping off the second platform. So, I will show you an application of this. See? I just canceled my smash attack. And it doesn't even have to be smash attacks. You can up tilt. You can jab. Whoops. I believe you could side B. Actually, I don't know if you can side B. Yeah, you can't side B. Okay, so it would just pick you up. But how it works is it picks you up and puts you back in your landing animation. So that will cancel any animation that you're doing. So if you fish, you can actually tell this by fishing, because it actually brings out the cloud for just a second. So it'll put you up and put you back down. This is very useful for a lot of different situations, but once again, it's very niche and unique to this stage. But it's still some shenanigans to keep in mind if you're feeling a little saucy, which I feel like most Shovel Knight mains do. One of the other fun things you can do with this is you can hit or plat drop Nair off of it. And this is probably the most useful shenanigan, because you can bait their parries a little better. There's also some up tilt weirdness that you can do. Whoops. So that's always really fun. And yeah, that's most of the things that I can think of at the moment. I'm going to show some gameplay of me playing with gear and applying some of these things. Yeah, thanks guys for watching. This is the end of the tutorial part. The rest will be just application. If you guys liked the video, let me know. I could do a video maybe on how to apply all the other relics into play, and we can see how it go from there. Alright, thanks guys.